Addiction thinks in circles, whereas invention thinks in spirals.
Yes. Yes,
And
yes,
I
yes.
love it. And spiral is not one dot, it's actually one seed becoming bigger and bigger and bigger
Mhm.
and bigger and bigger and bigger.
So I'm grateful for that. And then two, just the pain just reminding me like this body is so amazing.
Where else can you go
Hmm.
other than inside? And
Hmm.
when you're so almost like forced to face yourself, you find lots of love. Shall start recording right away. You're like, let's go. I want it. I want it now.
The shadow of impatience. No,
All
no.
right.
26.
Sacred
Pride.
tricksters.
So shadow of pride. Of course, I have a cold sore for this one.
Welcome,
Um,
welcome.
I'm
Everything is
really,
welcomed.
yes. I'm so grateful though because I got to deal with it. Usually I hide away and I realized a couple things around it. When I've seen other people with cold sores that were like really flaring up and really ugly, I you kind of feel bad for them, but I felt bad in a way of like imagining myself in their shoes and
Mm.
how like scared and nervous I would feel in that situation.
Mm.
Um, and I was like, okay, so it's just my own fear transplanted. So when I have this and I think everyone's looking at me funny or giving a second glance, they're probably doing the same thing. Like, oh, I would be so embarrassed to have that. That must feel
Mm.
bad. And then that kind of reframes it. I'm like, oh yeah, you feel bad for me. And then Carly's like, you just need to feel what it feels like to have something shitty on your face. And I was like, oh yeah,
Oh, wow.
that's just what it is. Like, and like the wanting to be like, I'm gonna cancel all my meetings and my appointments and not go out in public and not go to this kid's school because the teachers will look at me. I'm just like, okay, yeah, I have this thing and I don't like it and it hurts and I'm tired and carry on. So it's been
Okay.
good.
So, question for you. How do you know this is what people think? Because that's not what I thought first thing.
Oh, well, I just said like, that's my personal experience when someone that I knew had it and it
Mm.
was flared up. That was what went through my mind. And I'm like, okay,
Oh, so you think because you thought of that, that everybody else thinks like that.
yeah. And that's what we do. We
Do you
project.
want to know what I thought when I saw it?
Yeah, of course.
I didn't feel bad for you. I'm just like, you're working too much. Do you rest? Do you sleep? Do you eat oranges? That's the first thing that crossed my mind. But I was like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a human condition. And then I thought, I was like, oh, damn, it's been a minute since I got one.
Oh, yeah.
Because I had them too. And usually it happens when I push so much my body
Yeah.
because my mind can do it. Like, like when you underestimate the strength of the wave and then it pounds you back.
Hmm.
That's it.
Yeah,
So,
this one is really good for me. Like I'm reading it and I'm like, okay, content galore. Like there's so much that I can talk about and write about and continue to add to like my frame, but also there's so much that is relevant to my life. Like the shadow is totally my
all right,
experience. So
let's go.
just to foreshadow a little bit the cold sore and you're asking about like my health. Um, I made the switch. If people had listened to last week's, I made this switch about 4 weeks ago to a much more easeful business practice and workload, like 4 hours a day, ample rest time, a lot more time playing with the kids and doing fun stuff that I was neglecting before because I was always working. And my body felt really good at first. And I think what it is it was like chronic over pushing to the point of like stuffing it down in the depths of my tissues that, so it took time to like surface when I gave it some freedom. And so this feels like a setback. And I always say this, I'm like, how come when I do things right, I have like a manifestation of like sickness or and I think it's
Huh.
because I'm like releasing the cap, the pressure valve, and then
Mm.
it's giving off steam. And then at some point, it shows up as a physical
Wow.
manifestation. That's the
So
way.
it's almost a confirmation for you.
Yeah, well, at first it feels like, what the hell? I'm doing everything right. Like I should be like, my skin should be glowing. My gut health should be amazing. But it takes time, especially when I've been kind of abusing this body for so long. Like
Hmm.
lack of sleep, not paying attention to diet for a very long time. And then recently, like chronically working, um, neglecting the need for rest and activity too. Like, you know, I have this year I've worked out, exercised, or done something like recreational, maybe like 2 days a week at best. And some
Oh.
weeks I would skip entirely.
Mm.
But my body's like, this is just more than sitting in front of a computer isn't hard. Like that's a story I tell myself.
Mm.
There's a whole component. There's a whole.
Mm. But I really like how you said it. It may be, okay. Let's just say one fact is that in this body, we have how many gazillions of bacteria and viruses that are operating like
Mhm.
nonstop. We're made of it. And did I tell you last time? I think I told you on the previous one, and I said this that it used to take 100 whatever Fahrenheit to burn the body in
Yeah.
crematorium. Now it
Now it's
takes
like
400 because
minutes.
of all the chemicals that we have in the body. And what used to be, I think, the way where our grandparents lived, because my grandparents are farmers, right? I grew up on the stock and the food and the vegetables that they never killed with pesticides to make them bigger.
Mhm.
It was just like whatever. I would pluck the fruits from the tree. So, like it's very different diet for them back then, just 40 years ago, and for us now. And we're more and more almost getting exposed to left and right through into this temple. So it
Mhm.
has to show up. And I think a lot of these diseases now are almost autoimmune disease. And here I'm going to tell you the example. It's like last December, I thought I was in my full power when I did the yoga training and yoga and school and work
Yes, I
and
remember.
practices. And I was just like, I'm pushing and I'm like super powered human.
Hmm.
Oh, no shit. Because underneath it, it was boiling that I didn't even feel until it actually flared through my body.
Hmm.
So we really don't know. And that's where the almost like you have to make an effort to really give it what it needs. And it's just three things: the nutrients, the water, air, sleep. That's it.
Hmm.
Enough. Enough of it so it really carries over your energy,
Yeah.
so you can hit 100 as you
Yeah.
desire.
And there's like this is something that I'm learning now, so I'm just gonna share as I'm learning, and I don't know yet.
Mm.
But there's a key with like activity that is stimulating to your mind that's not like how do I put this? So there's this book called Rest, and essentially we have our typical two modes that we think of for our mental state, which is like I'm actively learning something, contributing, building something, creating, and then I'm rest, meaning watching Netflix, laying at the beach, drinking a margarita, whatever. And the author states a there's a third state that we don't think of typically, which is one in which your body is moving or you're in a new environment or you're experiencing things in a very new way that is I don't know if you hear the kids in the background.
Mm-mm.
Um, that creates like the white space that we had as children. It gives our mind like this freedom. And then when we come back, our ideas feel really renewed and fresh. And
Hmm.
he recommends activity that we did as children So for me, I mean, there's a bunch, but like it could be like climbing mountains or hiking, running and sprinting, playing basketball, like these sorts of
Mm.
activities where your mind is it's still operating, your body is still operating, but this is actually rest for the default state that we as adults tend to remain in from sleep or until wakefulness until sleep.
Mm. Hmm. And you're talking, if you did this in the childhood, this is what where your mind is almost gonna rest, even though you're doing the activity. Is that what you're trying to say?
I think the idea is it's a quicker way to get there because if you're trying to learn a brand new skill you've never done before,
Mm.
you're coming at it from the mind of an adult, like overthinking,
Ah,
you
I
know,
see, I
like
see.
I gotta learn this the way instead of like, oh, I know how to put ice skates on and go on a hockey rink and skate
Ah,
around and it feels like free flow because it's
ah.
something I learned a long time ago.
And it's almost like automatic, like
Yeah.
driving, huh?
Hmm.
Or riding a bike. Interesting. And I'll just add one more thing before we dive into it. It's like almost like when the mind is so busy and so trying to analyze and give you whatever, it's if you're pushing, because it's limitless. It's almost
Hmm.
like it can go on and on and on and on, and it can continue. And the more you push, the more you almost operate out of, ironically, out of the ego frequency, which is the shadow. And it can do the wonders to push you and make you do it. That
Hmm.
will, that Richard is speaking on the shadow pride here too. It's like that will for you to do, and more will you have, more of the things you're going to accomplish. But I'm just going to add one thing too. So when the mind works so hard to come up with something for you or make you do it, your level of breathing is
Yeah.
so increased, meaning literally your heart pumps faster. Your blood and chemical reaction in the body is like you're almost running out of breath. You can't, because your mind is so active, and it's literally activating your entire body to work much harder without even you knowing that.
Hmm.
And when we try to rest our mind, the breathing rests so the body can rest as well.
Hmm.
And this was the revelation. And I'm like, wow, how do you stop thinking so much? And do you give mind the time to rest a little bit? And we really don't.
Right.
Our entire awake time every day, the mind is thinking, thinking, thinking. When you go to sleep, your mind is still active. You're dreaming, 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 and creating. So the mind really doesn't rest. And the
Hmm.
more we learn how to rest it, and almost like there was this meditation years ago, I read it somewhere. It's almost like it's called the emptying the inbox and allowing your mind to just say everything that he wants, 1 hour
Yeah.
a day, until it says everything. It starts breathing on its own as its own entity, and then it kind of chills for the day. And the
Hmm.
guy starts the meditation. I don't know who, forgot the name for it, but it's like, I think we evolved more. We are now at the time when we are really trusting our mind less and less somehow, unless we figure out from which angle we're talking about, and is mind using us and abusing us, or taking out all our power and energy from the body, and your body has nowhere else to go than to burst through whatever.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. Or are we aware, can we use the same exact power and the benefit for our longevity, vitality, the health, the heart, the truth, the authenticity, the uniqueness?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a major opportunity at hand
Ooh,
for us
so
to choose.
let's see. How do we unravel this?
Hmm.
Sacred Tricksters. I love how he named both Shadow and the Gift in the 26 Jinky. By the way, do you have this one?
Let me check.
And or do you have someone who has this one?
How about you while I'm looking?
I don't. I marked all of them on the top. I used to know
Oh, that would
yours,
be
but
smart. I should do that.
well, you don't mark your
Oh,
books. I destroyed them. Not.
yeah. I actually have 25. I missed that.
Oh, really?
No 26.
Oh
Oh,
wow.
25 IQ. Hmm. By the way, last night I was thinking,
Mm.
yeah, Luca has 26. Sphere of attraction.
Ooh.
Last night I was thinking, Vipassana is very, and Jace has it. Sphere of evolution. Watch all three. No, Koa does not. So Luca and Jace have it. Cool. Um, do nothing meditation. I think you're aware of this or have done it.
Mm.
But just as a like often what we talk about with practices or techniques or as we talk about shadows, it's usually like an imbalance or inability to see both sides of something. Because as we know, the shadow and the city are so close.
Mm.
But the do nothing
Can go together. I mean,
yeah,
cannot.
yeah, yeah. Can't be
Um.
separated.
Yeah, and cannot operate at the same time. It's one or the other.
Mhm.
Mm.
And do nothing meditation is just doing nothing. So you enter and there's no objective, there's no goal, there's no criteria, there's no technique. And I really enjoy it.
Is this the Art of Doing Nothing book?
That might be less about meditation. I'm not sure. I haven't read that one.
So what is this meditation about? Enlighten me. I've never heard of it.
It's just like the only thing you would be technically doing would be sitting with your eyes closed and not moving your body. But the
Mm.
meditation side, you're doing nothing, meaning typically with Vipassana, you have a dedication or an intention, um, or you're like trying to stop thinking, or you're trying to remove monkey mind. And I'm like, oh my gosh, if I go in and I close my eyes and I say I'm not going to have monkey mind, then the monkey goes crazy. And
Yeah.
it's like, when you tell a kid, run around the house 3 times and don't think about the word wolf. And then the whole time they're running, they're like, I'm not going to think about wolf. It's not wolf. No, not wolf. And they're just,
Oh yeah, yeah,
that's what
yeah.
it does. And so in do nothing, you just like, okay, that's a thought. You just let it go. It's a bit like daydreaming, but I think much like any technique, you're balancing the poles and giving yourself a taste of what it would be like to allow everything. It's just a total
Mhm.
allowance, total letting go.
It sounds like a complete opposite from what Vipassana is. And Vipassana is very much concentrating your mind, actually
Yeah.
training your mind to get precisely concentrated on the microscopic level of subatomic parts of you, right? So it's almost like you train your mind so precisely to be a scientist and analyze and actually do what it wants you to do for a longer period of time.
Hmm.
And you're sitting and you're not moving. And in your case, you're sitting, you're not moving, but you allow your mind to go out there and release whatever and
Yeah.
be a chaos rather
Yeah.
than order.
Yeah. Yin and yang.
Aha, the
Gotta have
line in
both.
the circle.
Yeah.
All right,
All
cool.
right. Let's
What
dive
you
in.
got for shied? Shadow pride. Shied.
Oh man, so much. Okay, let's see. Where do I want to start?
This one is really good. I like this one too.
So I found it interesting how the the ring of light, he's talking about how our body is actually setting parameters for using light waves via our will. And I'm like, okay, already I'm like, I need time to digest what's happening here. In other words, through your willpower, you can bend light and turn it to your advantage. And this Jinky has a great deal to do with the correct and harmonious use of will.
Mm.
So I fell victim to this maybe a year ago, which is the conditioning field of the planet telling you that nothing will ever come to you in life unless you reach out and grab it.
Mm.
And you allow your unconscious fear to make you distrust the natural and easy flow of life. And one of my business mentors is Alex Hormozy.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've ever watched him or seen what he does, he's like I wake up, I work, I go to the gym, and then I work, and then I might have dinner and go for a walk, and then I work. And he's like, that's, that's how he gets attention, but also I think that's mostly how he operates. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like he doesn't accept any woo-woo path, and he's all about just like put in the work and get out. What you put in is what you get out. Your inputs equal your outputs. And then he's willing to outwork everyone. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. I'm a hard worker. And this is the path I went down, I think for like 2 years until about a month ago. Just no matter what, there's always more work to do and there's always more for me to be working on. There's more sacrifice to make as a dad and as a husband. Um, and I thought that the equation was the more I do, it will always compound and eventually my payout will come.
Mm, mm,
And I think that's true, but it's operating in the shadow. And this is what I realize is when you become when you step out of this fear to control everything and control your life, you're run by the shadow of pride and you don't have the gift of artfulness and the creative force, the light codes that are coming in. There is like, this is where he'd be like, that's woo woo, I don't believe in that. But it's like, there is a change in how you're received in the world and also just naturally what's coming into you, like ideas, for example,
mm.
opportunities, like people reaching out to you. And some of that stuff can't be explained unless you talk in this using the language of the gene keys or some other
Mm.
spiritual practice. But yeah, I would work chronically and I had a lot of pride for the work that I did. And I think that's why I'm manifesting this cold sore
For what cost?
among other things. What's that?
For what cost?
For what cost? Yeah.
Okay, so are you saying work, 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 wake up, work, go to the gym and work is the thing that you try to do?
That's the thing that I bought into. Yeah.
And did you get what you wanted? Did you get the same results, I guess, or results?
No.
Okay.
Well, it's interesting because like, did I learn a hell of a lot? Yes. Did I produce a lot? Yes. Did I get paid? Did I get compensated for the work that I was doing the way I wanted to? Absolutely not.
Mm,
Um, so it's like there's yeses and nos along the way. But what I'm saying is it's not to say that it's not a true path.
mm,
I think that is a method, that is one path up the mountain per se. Like if you worked hard enough and were able to learn quickly and adapt and think
yeah.
on the fly and compete, then that is a path to success toward your goals.
Mm,
But what I've noticed in reducing the time available for work and being hyper intentional about the lifestyle that I want, and then manifesting that in the now, meaning like, okay, I worked 4 hours today. I can work over, but if I'm working over 4 hours, where, what am I like letting be loose that should be tight? Where can I like improve a system to make this more efficient? Um, and so it's like, it's about utilizing tools and other resources or delegating. And often the answer was truly like, I was working 12 hours a day, but a lot of the work was like, okay, let me bop over here. Let me check on this. Let me look over here again. Let me look on this. Okay, I'm gonna go get a snack. I'm gonna sit back down. It's like I wasn't really working. And um, for most people, to be able to do hyper focused intentional work for that long of a period of time is really difficult. I think you either need extensive training or you need a large enough system of pressure around you to kind of
Mm,
force the output
mm,
that it would require. And I think, if you get to the place where you have like multiple companies that you're operating and you have $100 million of revenue, it would put you in that place. But as you're someone taking it in like me, and I'm like, I have $0 in revenue, I'm just trying to build something. I don't have external pressure. All I have is internal pressure.
it comes from here.
Yes.
I love how he names a gift heart marketing.
Yeah, I love that.
And when I read it, I was like, oh my God, it is the best thing that I read so far this year. It's a heart marketing when you actually do nothing other than speaking from your heart, from your own experience. And you're laughing at your ego, you're accepting it,
Hmm.
you're laughing at your pride because, yeah, you're prideful, but everybody cannot get mad at it. It's almost like very acceptive when you speak from a very different corner
Hmm.
of this like structure of us as personalities or character or compass. So there are three stories that came to my mind while I was listening to you.
Hmm.
Should I say all three?
It's up to you. Start with one and see
Okay.
where it takes you.
And as you were saying, your $100 million mentor, do it, work it. It reminded me on this like story I heard of climbing the hill and mountain in life. And you're lucky if you have two mountains to climb.
Hmm.
Take it as, is it's relevant to you and to everybody else around. It's just a metaphor. And I think it was Shaolin Brothers. And he's like one of them that says this story a long time ago and stuck with me and goes like, while you're climbing this mountain, you're going out there, everybody's coming down, and you're like, oh my God, what's on the top? What's on the top? And they're like, there's nothing, whatever. And you're like, no way that there's nothing. I still want to go. I still want to go. And you keep going, you keep going, you keep climbing, and everybody's coming down. And you're like, why are you coming down? Like, what is on the top? What is on the top? And they're like, nothing. There's
Hmm.
nothing, but you'll see. You don't have to go. And you keep going and you keep pushing, you go and you go. Everybody comes down. And by the time you get on the top, you realize that there's really nothing. But you also have a 360 view. You see
Hmm.
everything around it because you're on the top of the mountain and there's nowhere else to go than to go down. And as if it's the path for somebody to come in and climb to the top in order to realize that that's not what you were seeking. And if I used to say this, recently I've caught myself saying it's like the bigger here it gets, the emptier here it gets.
Hmm.
And I said this to my mom a couple of times. And I was like, why am I saying this? I don't understand. Where is this coming from? Right. So, based on what am I preaching this or stating such a thing? Like, because I love to read, because I love to intellectualize as well, I'm moving through the phase where the intellect is not doing it for me any longer. I can read the books and not remember what I read yet. When I get in a corner in a moment where I have to deal with it, none of it actually comes up. None
Hmm.
of the techniques that I try, unless I experience them on my body. And then I can figure out, oh, my body knows it's done that before because I practiced it, because I have gone through that experience. So the second story was, right? So, you know, one of the things that wanted to say is like someone's path is someone's path, but it's not yours, right? It might not be yours. It's already someone already paved their path. And when the books like that are launched, and kind of like almost almost like they guarantee the success, right? It's hard not to buy it. I went through it as well. It's almost like, but I am a completely different person. I deal with everything completely differently. Like I'm not gonna go every night, every day, nonstop like you, and I will try and I will die.
Hmm.
I will have a cold sore because it's your path, because that's what you need to go through. And you
Hmm.
just gave me the seed in my intellectual capacity and capital to maybe inspire something else in me. And if I try your path and it's not working, I'm not getting the same results, then I'll try another path. And then I'll try another path and another path. And holy shit, you waste your entire life. So I hope we all get to a point where all the paths don't work other than your own path. And you have
Yeah.
nowhere else to go there intellectually as much as you know. And there's a third story I want to say in the same exact matter. It's like, it's different knowing the science of the oceans. And this is what Vipassana actually thought. The teaching is like, it's just metaphoric stories, not even mythology. It's like myths, right? So you can be a professor and scientist and know all the ingredients of the oceans, the air, and the condensation and the thunder and the storms and how they're created and calculated mathematically. And if you're on the ship in the middle of the ocean and your ship is sinking, that means nothing unless you know how to swim.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Someone's like, what is all of that for? If you are gonna drown, if you don't know practically what to do without water,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's almost like if you don't know how to swim, forget about it. All your knowledge is actually invalid. It's just waste
Mm-hmm.
and for your life. So we lose life in trying someone else's paths. And this key explains it so well how that exact push through the mind, through almost like puts everybody under the bus, underneath, below you, and somehow places you into this throne of the best, the top of the top. Well, you lose yourself. You lose your identity. You no longer know. Nothing is fulfilling you. You're not happy. You don't have friends. You're against everybody. And suddenly you learn this skill that it's so useless, right? But unless it's your dharma, or unless it's your destiny, unless it's your path, unless it's your calling, unless it's your intuitive hugging of something that you genuinely just feel like creating or surrendering to, that's where this creation and artfulness comes from. I feel it's almost like, wow, it takes, I don't know, I can't catch it all the time out of my experience, but I was like, but what really expands me versus what is almost like contracting me so much so that I have to battle something or someone in order to get somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like, am I putting so much force and effort out of my body through my mind to get to what I want and I think I need? Or am I really actually relaxing, allowing
Yeah.
the body and the flow of life to just come to me and fall in my lap and whatever, I'll take anything. If I have to sleep on the street, I'll sleep on the street. Speaking of, I had those thoughts in my mind back in
Mm-hmm.
the day when I was younger. Now I'll just
Mm-hmm.
come to Hawaii and hang out with you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. Of course. Yeah, those are all really good stories. I could add on to them,
Mm.
but I feel like it would just be piling on just as be like, here's my voice. So instead,
Mm.
Richard talks about with heart marketing, he talks about this feeling of warmth. And I wanted to ask you about it.
Yes.
Let me turn down
Are
my
we
light
talking
real
about the
quick.
gift or shadow still?
Yeah, the gift. My light was very intense. I was sweating. Okay. Um, hmm. Are you ready to move to gift or should I save it?
We can go. I think almost there's one more thing I want to touch base on
Mm-hmm.
your question. I think in the beginning you said you didn't, was it like you didn't click the power of will as the power that we have, that we can bend the light?
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And why was this like logically confusing for you to visualize, or was it like just a new information that your mind was like, that's not the case or the truth?
Um, a good question. I'm trying to find because he talked more about these higher models are waiting to be activated inside your DNA by the higher frequencies within the light spectrum. Um, it's almost like, okay, within the ring of light, the fifth gene key allows you to synchronize your individual biorhythm into the wider cosmic pattern or grid, but is the 26th that finds all of the shortcuts through the matrix. Such shortcuts or wormholes allow human beings operating at higher frequencies to break the normal laws of the material plane. However, at the shadow, none of those shortcuts are available to you, and your only resource is to use brute force of will to get what you want.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's just the framing of, to me, I've never thought about work inputs and outputs and potential for success in the language of light frequencies.
Mm.
So it's almost like I have this sphere of knowledge and I have this sphere of knowledge, and this is like practical, non-esoteric, like very, things are in steps, and this is quantum and shaky ground and a lot of unknowns. And it was just like bringing the two together on a
Hmm.
topic that I thought were separate. And it, of course, for me, having an experience that feels like an embodiment of the difference. Like, it's very
Mm.
clear to me what brute force feels like because I was just in it. And then now it's very clear to me. I'm having glimpses. Like, it's like, I think there's going to be more flow as I continue to operate this way. But I'm having glimpses where there will be times when I'm writing and it's just like, I'm like, this isn't like my mind trying to create a book for you to read. It's just like, whoa, these are wonderful ideas. And it's almost like the ego detaches without me even thinking about, I need to detach my ego. It's like a
Mm.
shortcut, a wormhole.
Mm. Yeah, because you drop into completely different sets of your powers, almost like the power that it's ultimate or limitless
Hmm.
and completely not controlling the external factors, the external environment. It has nothing to do with anything, anybody, and any one thing around you. It all has to do with you. And so, how I understood this was very much like when you operate from the heart or from the level of your authentic seed or your pearl or your uniqueness, right? So, once you become aware of that you have a certain set blend combination that is only yours and that will never ever ever show up in the existence of the cosmos. We talked I talked about this like many times in previous keys. It's
Hmm.
almost like this is the unique blend at the time of your existence, of your life experiences, collection of all your life experiences that gives you this specific perspective and this authenticity to you, that you have a complete different palette of colors, that it's unique and nobody else has it. There's no 10 of you, it's only one of you. There's no other Eric. Even if you had a twin brother, genetically you will be the same, but experientially you would completely be a different people and have a different perspective on everything. Different seasoning will be added to it. Your soup is differently tasting from your own brother.
Hmm.
So, but when we discover this within us, and when we start learning about this part of us, this awareness, this like this new layer of us that comes in and says, wow, I love me. I want to fill myself with me. I want to become full of myself. That has no impact. That is not copy and pasting from a copy of someone else out there. Then that awareness brings you back to your seed, to your own experience in the moment. And that's what alters this DNA chemical reaction in the body that changes literally the power of that light shift, right? So that awareness almost feels to me, how I understood it, is that the awareness of self and uniqueness, acceptance of it, when it comes out through your words, through your actions, through your radiance, through your magnetism, charm, it's coming out as only your own blend. And
Hmm.
out of that, the more you're aware of that exact side of you, you're able to change your chemical, your genes.
Hmm.
And he goes like, it's quite literally your ability to harness the power of light and project it through your body as action, thought, and words. So good. I love this.
Yeah. How would you explain that? Or how, or do you have more thoughts around that?
I do. I do. It's effortless, right? So it goes like, then I highlighted, if you have enough willpower, you can achieve almost anything and you can manifest anything. And let's forever, let's just sit in mantra and spin around. I desire, give me, give me, give me. Let's just think life through. I think, so I am, right? We are absolutely programmed to think that way and to believe in that and to identify with I am, so I think. But that's just a step to our evolution. We had to do that in order for us to be like, everything that comes out of my mind actually has no power, rather than it has a destructive power unless I figure out how to use it in the benefit of me, in the benefit of everyone else. And when it comes from the heart, this is where I think the time shrinks down to nothing. This is where I think our quality, this is where I measure it almost like, oh, I have more energy after a good 2 hour conversation with someone and exchanging. I just use my verbiage and my vocabulary, my linguistic capability that came out of my brain, my mind, and my cognitive abilities or whatever. I use them to elaborate and simplify what the mind will probably, an ego would probably complicate it unnecessarily. So when I finish conversations with you, never did it once feel like I'm so exhausted because I'm trying really hard to be smarter than you. And I'm
Yeah.
trying to outsmart you and I'm trying to look good and be all this like, no. So when that's how I understand it. It's like I have so much more energy in the body that I can carry on 2 more hours of a good quality conversation. When there's no ego game, I'm not trying to push and pull with you. I'm not trying to prove you wrong or prove you right. I am. And right. So it's like I don't consider everything that comes out of the mouth to be so much effort to precisely put it. So I'm the best person in the world on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And look at me. I'm so
Mm-hmm.
smart. Look, I have so many books that I'm reading,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Just wait till I get my bookshelf. Then we can compete.
But notice I placed the art here, and art is very different. So it's like you feel the art rather than actually intellectualizing everything. And I think that's where the artful way comes because gosh, your heart has so much to say. And it doesn't choose only words, it chooses everything. Imagine if we tapped into, if we eliminated the words completely, how would
Mm.
we communicate? How would we know enjoyment in life or joys and laughter and bliss? How?
Art, dance, song. Well, if we
We
can't,
can.
humming. We still have a vocal box.
So good. So tell me about ego. How do you deal with your own ego? Do you know it? Are you aware of
Um,
it? Is it
yeah, I
running the show?
think I think I have a healthy relationship with my ego now, and I have taken probably every stance on the way to that, whether it's bad and I should get rid of it, or full surrender to ego, or but now it's just more like a third party, like okay, I can see the ego is getting involved here. I just had this thought today, for example. Um, I thought, okay, another man might get jealous that I'm hanging out with his wife, with Carly. And then I thought, like, you play through all these scenarios, and I thought of a response like, why would I sabotage my relationship and everything that's good? And this was my response. And then I was like, wait, Eric, come on. I was like, there's a part of you that would sabotage it if the
Hmm?
circumstances were perfect.
Say
If,
more.
huh?
Say more.
I'm like, I just have to admit that there's a part of me that, like, the hungry ghost part of me that is, um, I want to experience pleasure and desire and eat all the food and do all the things. And it was like, oh yeah, okay. So I can't really respond in that way with full truth. It would have to be
Mm.
much more nuanced. And then actually what happened is I just dropped it. I'm like, this is too complicated.
I don't want to deal with you. Like, chill,
It's
chill, chill.
this made up scenario. Well, I dropped the scenario. I'm like, this is too much
This is,
energy for, yeah, I was like, okay, moving on. But in the past, I might have, you know, gone down the altruistic imagining, or I might have gone down like the catastrophizing, like I should feel so shameful that I have desires that nobody
mm,
knows about, or, and now it's like acknowledgement, and this is a part of being human. This is a part of my experience and my body. It doesn't mean that this is what everyone goes through, and maybe no one can relate with me, but I can't. How can I be in a place of judgment? Because that means I'm rejecting some part of myself. And I've
mm,
learned through all the work and the many layers of experience that the last thing I want to do is reject parts of myself.
mm,
At least
mm.
acknowledging them, carrying on.
So let me debunk something here.
Yeah.
Do you know who you watched X-Files back in the day?
I watched some of it. I wasn't like an avid.
Scully. You remember
Yeah,
Scully?
Scully. Yeah.
Agent Scully. Okay, so Agent Scully is author now, and she wrote a phenomenal book called "I Want," or it's very much about it's an anonymous book of random people all over the world who submitted the letters.
Oh, I remember hearing about this.
Yes, so
Like
which is
their
the
deepest desires or something.
deepest sexual fantasies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it was very anonymous because she even had her story in it. It was
Mm-hmm.
just anonymous. And she opened up this opportunity for people to speak, committing that she will write a book about it and just debunk the myth of, we have to be so proper in the way we
Yeah.
think. We have to be so proper in the way we dream. We have to be, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can do this because you assume a lot of things about it. You're
Mm-hmm.
almost afraid of it. You start going against yourself because you don't understand. You can't tell it. It sits in the isolation. You're almost like it's multiplying inside of you and it's eating you alive and you kind of almost like it's a self-destructive thing.
Mm-hmm.
So where she comes in with it is like the thoughts, and this is why I'm like, let me just debunk something because the thoughts are not the truth. It's just the thought. It's
Mm-hmm.
just a tool to use. You can either use it or you can just ignore it. And when the mind really runs out of everything that you already know and you experienced, it will come up with the new things. This is where it lives in the future. So it is almost like doesn't know anything else how to do than to come up with stuff. And
Yeah. Yeah.
it will test you and 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 test you again and again and again. And it will bring up a lot of things that are not truth. So where I want to debunk it is like where we fail or we get tested is when we identify with that voice and we say, "Ooh, this might be truth." So when you become that voice and you say, "Hey," but I'm like, I think I have the desire for the pleasure, or I think I want to do something that I'm told not to, or I think so when we become the voice and we take it as our truth and it just starts growing inside of it, which is almost like going against you. So I don't know how, like how we stop this other than almost slowly learning how not to trust everything that our mind is saying and specifically pointing out and being aware of what is it saying.
Mm-hmm.
Have you probably met people that said, "Oh, the way I talk to myself inside my head is like brutal." You met
Yeah,
someone.
I've heard this. Yeah.
A lot of people say this, like the vocabulary I'm using for me when I say, "Oh, you bitch. Oh, you made a mistake." Like, "Oh, of course you failed." Just observe what your mind is talking to you. But
Mm-hmm.
it's not like, it's not the truth. So it's just, gosh, it's just its job. It's almost like I see it as the baby. It's like such a immature, innocent, chaotic, wild power that does not know what it's doing and what it's thinking. It's just going all over the place. It's a complete chaos out there. And why would I trust the chaos if I can, the only way to come back to it so far that I discovered, which is why I'm talking about this for 3 days already, 3 sessions, is like just come back to your body and listen to your body. And I'm going to go even further with that. It's like, how we used to say, oh, my intuition is telling me not to do this. Then we didn't trust our mind anymore. Now we trust the butterflies in the stomach saying, oh, my gut's sixth sense. I would question that either. Right.
Yeah.
And when you have nowhere else to go to and hold on to and attach to as a truth, you really are just like almost like getting deeper and deeper into self to say, but there's nothing for me to hold on to. I am nothing. And yet something comes out of it. And then you go and you do it, right? But if your mind is telling you, oh, that's the truth, or grab on that, or this is you, or it's like you can feel this effort that comes from the mind
Hmm.
rather than effortlessness that
Yeah.
comes from the heart naturally. And I think you know exactly what I mean by that. You know this distinction when you write and you're like, wow, 2 hours later, I wrote for 4 days straight, right? So it's like there's a huge difference. And it's just that awareness of which part of me am I operating from in both cases. So you learn how to differentiate.
Yeah. Yeah. And the, I think getting in tune with the nervous system is kind of a lens into knowing or not knowing. It's a lens to view the self. So if I'm over there thinking about a future scenario and I'm playing this game and I attach to a thought and my breathing quickens and I start sweating and I'm getting nervous because this man's gonna get mad at me for hitting on his wife, then I'm like, wait a second. Why am I
Mm-hmm.
why am I contract like why am I becoming so forceful about, and this is how, if we're like chronically stressed or we're dysregulated, this is how we often step into like anxiety
Totally.
or on the opposite end, like total loss of hope with depression. But if I'm calm and it's like kind of what happened as I sat there and I'm like, what a weird train of thought. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not, but I can't I can't come from a place like my mind is like, you wanna claim to be altruistic, right? Like you're such a good guy. And I was like, probably not, but it doesn't matter right now. And then it just carried on. And in that process, I'm like, my breathing's calm. I'm just kind of hanging out with the kids. I'm sitting down, just looking around, looking at nature. And I'm like, okay, moving on. So I think it's a signal. It might not be the truest sense because thoughts are powerful. And that's why sometimes we wake up from dreams and we're panicked
Mm.
and covered in sweat. And we're like, what is happening? Um, but I just wanted to add that in there.
Yeah. And let me ask you something. Imagine if we did and reacted to everything that our mind is telling us to do.
Yeah, we'd have short lives, I think.
Yeah. Like imagine if you reacted to every thought and literally did something about it. The point
Hmm.
is not to react and just be aware. It's like, oh yeah, I can do it, but I choose not to. That's that choice that
Yeah.
comes in. I often ask, like, do we even have a choice? Like on the spiritual, energetic level, we really don't. It feels like almost like we're just showing up for this life. But when it comes to the ego game and almost like this like power force and this thing that mind is doing to us, oh, you do have a choice,
Hmm.
a big choice, and you don't act on it. That doesn't mean you're sick in your mind or you're a sick person or,
Hmm.
but don't want to bring Freud back in the game because he's outmoderned, especially. But
Yeah, it's interesting because I think it's been coming up just through other people, like bringing up Freudian view of the id, ego, superego, and it
anti-sexualizing everything.
yeah, and sexual, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, it was very interesting when I found it when it was put in front of us as a 15-year-old boy. I'm like, of
Freud?
course, yeah, I think so.
Right,
15.
to guilt you for feeling sexual?
Well, there's the attachment there, and then there's like, okay, I have a frame for understanding maybe why I experience chaos and don't have a sense of control, and then the temptation to control. Like, okay,
Mm.
there's this thing called superego, and I can reference that and then get my way in every situation. But I'm sure he did the best with what he had.
I mean, in the time that he lived in.
Yeah, and he advanced
The,
everything quite a bit. So
okay, maybe we can have a Freud discussion, like a debate. It sounds like
that's
wow.
that's not my that's not my area of I wouldn't say I'm like well practiced in the realm of psychology. I'm only very surface level experience. I'm
I
more like
mean,
philosophical.
yeah, same. Two Pisces. But
Hmm.
yeah, I have read couple books that Freud has been mentioned through many times, and not to deny it or denote it, almost like just like it's coming back. And what I think it's like every time when in doubt, I zoom out, and meaning so there must be a bigger picture of it. Everything that happened before us, and every structure, every science, every formula, every mathematical equation for whatever calculation was meant to bring us exactly where we are right now, to a point of a healthy questioning of all of
Hmm.
them. Is it true? How will we know? Is it true? It's someone else's path, right? So I love the era that we're in right now, questioning everything left and right, especially what we read, especially our minds. So do not go listening to this without questioning everything that we
Yeah, of
said.
course.
Like,
Yes.
please do.
Please. Next question for you. Willpower, he says not my will, but thy will, and kind of
Oh,
aligning with a higher, whatever that means. I wanted to ask you about that because I think it was maybe 6 months ago.
mm,
I was on this kick of kind of doing like manifestation work and believing that I could will or change my reality. And you were like, what about, I forget the way you framed it. It was like, what about the law of randomness? I think
mhm.
is how you approach it. I want to ask you, how do you see will with this law of randomness and how do you see it playing as you become more aligned with thy will?
And this is where the separateness from the mind comes from separateness from the natural flow and natural evolution. So two very different layers of us, that, you know, if I were to think of my will, it is purely going to be because I want to control everything in my life.
Hmm.
And when I have a will, when there is a will, there is a way. I say it all the time. But this is because I want to complete something in my daily basis of life. And I want to travel the world, and I want to make more money, and I want to secure my roof, and I want to have a certain standard of living. And when there is a will, there is a way, as if I am a warrior with the sword and I'm going out there and I'm fighting, 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 fighting. And I am where I am because I had that will to fight through, to learn the language, to cross the ocean, to go into the unknown, to fail so many times and stand up like a phoenix rising. Oof, that's a great story. I don't think anybody will buy that book because it's normal. It's like
Yeah.
we live in the system where these logistics of life will require a certain push through in order to survive. The system is designed like that. Even if you live in Panama or live in as a nomad somewhere in the desert, it's like as a monk. Okay, great idea, great connotation. It's like you go into Tibet in Himalayas and you live as a monk. You must have a will to wake up every morning and go and ask and beg for food. And right, so it's almost like what pushes you to go on that date in the morning? A will, a
Hmm.
desire, attachment to something. So if I were to think from that standpoint, when there is a will, there is a way. I will always find my way. I will always find the way to feed myself, survive, and make it happen. The will to move from Michigan to Hawaii. You didn't have a home, right? So something had to push you towards. And I think the killing it, imagine killing the ego or diluting it completely. It's like, but I mean, you'll be, who's going to feed you then? Right? So who's going to put food in your body so you can kind of stay here a little bit longer? You know, like some people love earth life. I love to live on this earth for a long time. And for that, I need something to fight for. That will is a different will from surrendering to thy will. And when I read it, I was like, wow, but can you believe that we are actually aware and we have a concept of these two now in this evolution of our consciousness and collective? Like, I bet half of the people that will listen to this will know exactly what you and I are talking about, right? So when everything is orchestrated somehow, when I'll just give an example. When everything falls in life, everything just disappears and everything is shuffled. You can lose LA fires, really great idea. Like who would think after 60, 70 years of living in a home, having a perfection of life, settling, slowing down, relaxing, gardening. The lady here next to me is a gardener. She lost everything. And suddenly, no will help you control that event that is about to happen. When something has to reset or something out of your control happens to life. Great example. Your cold sore, right? Great example. It's involuntary.
Yeah.
So, how many of these things are involuntary, including our heartbeat and circulation of our blood? So, we are not to be blind to think that we control everything. We just control our circumstances in the environment that we're in. We get to choose, do we want to change the environment, which language we want to speak? Am I learning piano or am I reading Caravaggio or somebody else, right? So I get to choose that, but I have a different set of lenses when I look at what actually helps me accept and forgive and, like have fun. It's what makes me have more fun in this life is to know that I can contribute the West to the best ability that I can to me, to the people around me, to the collective around me, to the city I live in, to the culture I'm in, to the earth I belong to the cosmos and galaxy. I can contribute with this tiny little body and this little little chunk of thoughts that I have through my actions, through my heart. That is my contribution. But at the same time, why are you and I thinking about the same thing at the same time? Why are you and I having a great time together without pushing and pulling the ego? Why do I meet specific people and we bond just like that on an energetic level, on the soul level, where there's a heart exchange, when there's no ego game? It's like all of this is unanswered and it will never be answered. It just is. That's the I will. It has its own collective arrows flowing through us, alluring us to kind of wake up every morning and go for life. Right. So, what about you? What do you think?
I thought that was
After
beautiful. Um, but you would name this is like, we're just getting into the weeds a little bit, but I think it's important. You're naming random events as part of the law of randomness, or also the things that feel synchronistic as part of the law of randomness.
Mhm.
Like what falls under that umbrella?
Got it. When I think about law of randomness, I think of why you and why not me? Why me at the 35 and my mom at 65? Right? Almost like this randomness in linearity that we know of as time and space almost like kills the time and space immediately. Like, right? So why are we totally opening up more that it took? We're wise in 20, in 30. 20s and 30s used to be the dumb age back in our parents' time, right? And you take to be a grandma or a grandpa to be considered wise because you have that many years and summers behind you as a wise, experienced person of 90 years old. But we have knowledge that comes with us. So, you know, why are we waking up randomly at the random time of our life and it's not consistent, right? So we are not. And why are you sitting for 8 hours of meditation at Sadhguru and suddenly you wake up as a totally different person? Why Sadhguru in the middle of the street sitting and meditating accidentally for 30 minutes after work and 8 days later? Was it, oh, sure, I can't remember who was it, Sadhguru? 8 days later, he wakes up not eating. Why him, right? So there must be some sort of randomness that applies together with the sense of cosmic alignment at the same time, right? So if I contribute to my collective with the best efforts that I do, and how much I can put towards meditating and being a kind, ethical, moral person, the baby tomorrow can be born with the exact same thing out of blue. Let me give you another example. If you come with a different, why did you, do you remember in your life having a moment of kind of just waking up somehow, like becoming aware of, right?
Um,
Like
I mean,
when you're
there's many, but it's like layers. But I would say the first layer of the onion was when I almost drowned.
river in a hike, right? In
Mhm.
Canada.
Mhm.
Yeah. But why, why then?
Mhm.
Didn't that come out of nowhere? Totally left field, random, right there, right? So it's like, at what point you're like, okay, I am where I am and I accept where I am, but at the same time, what am I doing here? Right? It's like, how did I get here?
Mhm. Yeah. So for you, the law of randomness kind of quiets down the part of your mind, of your soul that is looking for an answer to the why question.
It makes me trust it more.
Hmm.
And I think it applies towards trusting the collective more. That, you know, how Richard says in the 2027, something will shift on our genetic coding, right? The ring will shift, right? There will be one of 0001s that will, instead of being zero, it will become one.
Hmm.
And it will happen. We don't know when it's going to happen. We don't know how many people and souls have to incarnate in the earth in order for that to kind of like speed up a little bit. We don't know who is helping us. We don't know what help or not help we're getting or not getting, but it makes me trust it. It makes me trust the universe more because I don't want
Hmm.
to live this life thinking, believing, and that I will be the one to be enlightened. I want to think, I want to feel and live this life believing that anybody can get enlightened, right? It's almost like it softens the way I look for the world. It softens my trust towards anybody can get a chance to heal. Anybody at any given time, no matter how much you are trying to push forward, because we're all almost working together. It's like we're all winning at the same time, and you can just happen to be the first one or the second or the last, right? So it makes me trust the universe more than before.
Yeah. I think of a dice having hard to find edges and it lands on a face. And it's almost like this is a tool that curves all the edges to a ball.
Mm,
So it just rolls, and then where it stops is completely random.
mm, I see. So, excuse me, does it make you feel uncomfortable or does it make you feel comfortable? How does that make you feel? And why did you thought about it
Um,
randomly?
I wanted to ask because I don't actually think about it very often. Maybe I did. Um, but let me tap in a little deeper. Mm, because initially it feels like willpower, slash divine intent or purpose would be contrasting against randomness. Or it's almost like because the law of randomness is kind of for you because you said it softens the edges. It it allows for more acceptance on your part. It's almost like a meta concept to reduce the need for littler concepts to
Mm.
then understand and participate. And then for me, I'm like, what's the meta concept of randomness and order and structure? And actually, I grew up in my household having these conversations with my dad and my brother because
Mm.
there's a lot of wisdom in the Bible that doesn't, it's paradoxical. There's God is omnipotent and omnipresent, and yet he's having a conversation and he's learning something for the first time. Just as an example, there's many aspects along that journey of how I was taught the religion where I'm like, I can't reconcile this. It doesn't make sense.
Mm.
And so we would have these debates. And I think at some point I, and probably recently, I think the concept that I came to is either both or nothing, but not like a not like some arbitrary balance. It's like either it is random and also divinely orchestrated, or
Mm.
neither of those things are true, and we're like we don't have willpower. We don't have there's no such thing as randomness because it's just like matrix programming. We're just running on code. Um, and that was the way where my mind could be like, all right, it's good enough for now. It's almost like a non-answer that
Mm.
satisfies my ego's desire for some solidity.
So the question is, can you hold both dualities at the same time?
Well, I think the way to hold both is to let go of them.
Mm. It's like, well, I'll never find the answer ever.
Mhm.
I can guess and guesstimate and spin in circles again and again and again, but I will never know is it truth or not. And that's where we get trapped right into you and I are phenomenal in it. This is why we debate because we really, you remember we had a couple of episodes when we just sat and we were like, we just want to feel. How about we just like sit in silence and we feel and buzz and we're like numbing and then we're like, "Zzz." Those are the best. But
Mhm.
this is the debate. We're feeding each other's minds with more information and potential and inspiration and whatever. We're allowing it to do its own thing, but we'll never know the answer.
Well, it's interesting because to me, this feels like um, you and I get to a mountain and you look up and you're like, I think this path would be the most fun. And I'm like, well, I think this path would be the most fun. And then we take the paths and we're like talking as we go. And I'm like, come over here, try this little section. And you're like, oh, come over here. Like, let's go this way. And
Mm.
it's like we're making our way up a mountain, but we never really get to the top. We're just kind of,
Playing.
we start the next week and we're still on the mountain. Like, let's go again.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
playing.
it feels like play.
Totally. Totally. And it feels like exploration. It's almost like we're getting so but okay, let me just say this. Like, would you rather sit and watch the news right now?
No.
Exactly. So like we're at least choosing to innovate with the way that we're thinking and giving the mind at least the different tools. And I said this yesterday for somebody, I don't know who I was talking to yesterday with, and I was like, there are specific things that I want to learn how to do in life. And there are specific things and situations that I do not want to learn. I don't want to learn how to put someone under the bus. I do not want to learn the skill of destroying someone's life just to be happy. You know, it's like there is like okay, I would do not want to hate another nation just because I can learn. My mind can learn how to do that. And this is where this information comes in to feed you. It's like what you input, you somehow, unless you're totally aware of your thoughts, become. If you're able
Oh,
to think it, you're able to do it. So there's specific things that I do not want to feed my mind by. So I would rather sit here for 4 hours and talk nonsense with you than, learn how to hate whatever and whoever. Ugh.
I feel like this is a wonderful segue to talk about manipulation because he talks about it a few times here.
Okay, this gift.
It's in the shadow and the gift,
Okay,
but we can approach it from either angle.
fire up.
Um, this word manipulation is another bete noi no. Yeah, I'm not good with French. Bete noi noer in
Yeah.
the spiritual domain. However, as long as the manipulation is open and honest, it can be a beautiful thing. Art is a subtle form of manipulation, as is music. Human beings can be moved from lower frequencies to higher frequencies through manipulation, and this is where the 26th gift excels. It lets you know you are being manipulated so that you can give in and allow yourself to be swept away or reject what is being offered. It is a game, of course, we're playing.
Mm.
Through this gift, you manipulate your own ego in order to manipulate someone else's ego.
Mhm.
The difference between the frequency of the shadow and the gift is that when you're operating from the 26th shadow, you are effectively consumed by your own ego and its voracious need to feed off of success, recognition, and dominance. When you're manifesting the 26th gift, you are not identified with your own ego. It is simply something you use, like a costume you put on before a show.
Hmm. Do you think it has to do with the way that the voice comes out and sounds?
Ooh.
Meaning how you can recognize which ego you're talking about? The manipulative one that destroys or kind of wants to put you under the bus, or the one that is just playful and acceptive?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think tone and the content of someone, I guess if you're self-analyzing, like the content of your emotions, like how hungry are you when you're speaking to somebody? You ever
Mm.
felt this when someone's trying to sell you something
Ah,
and you're like, you could be saying the best, it could be the perfect thing for me, but the way you're talking to me, I'm never gonna buy this thing.
oh my God.
And then on the other end, it's like someone, they haven't even talked about what it is. And I'm like, I love you. I'm gonna buy whatever this thing is. Like, let's
Yeah.
do it.
Funny, I just had a discovery call. I actually called them discovery calls
Hmm.
2 days ago. And the woman from Norway showed up and it was beautiful. It was such a beautiful connection, right? But I couldn't help but not to speak of, right? It was like I was so aware that I didn't want to sell her the package, the coaching package. And I was like, and she was so receptive of me actually speaking from experience of what is this whole coaching thing about, right? And I was just like, and I was laughing because I'm like, I can't believe this is, I suck at sales, right? Because I'm not even trying to sell her. I'm just putting the seed in her mind that there's another way around it. And whenever it feels
Yeah.
right, the seed will show up and we will cross paths if we're meant to cross paths. But at least you
Mhm.
know the other technique and methodologies exist somewhere in the world.
See, this is thy will instead of my will.
Yeah.
That's a perfect example.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And when you try my will, you almost have this high, annoying pitch in the
Yeah.
voice.
Well, I think what happens is you have to cut off the heart, right? Because this is heart marketing. So
Exactly.
there's some level in it. Where's it going to land? It's going to land in your throat
Totally.
and you're,
And this
yeah.
is this is when people this is why people can see and hear bullshit.
Yes.
And I love it that we have this capacity. Everybody nowadays can see, well, I hope everybody and majority of us can actually see through bullshit and not fall for this my ego or
Hmm.
what how did he call it?
My will or thy
Oh,
will.
my will, my will.
Yeah. Um,
Mhm.
I just had a I met with someone that was just kind of pitching her products, and she was a younger woman, and I was like, in the process of talking with her, I'm like, she is phenomenal at the sales process, but, and it was like this but, and I'm like, I just want to give myself space to operate on the other side of it because the mechanism of being good sales is leading, asking questions, and giving a lot of uncomfortable space because then the other person naturally wants to like meet, like there's like a disconnect and you're like, well, how do I move forward? Or, well, what do we do now? Or what question do you have for me? And it's like you want to bridge the gap. And I was feeling that dissonance and I'm like, oh, I'm familiar with this game. I know what to do here. And I just kept the dissonance and then she got uncomfortable and then I was having to play this internal game of like such a large part of me wants to please people that I'm talking with. Like I just want to make you like me. We all have
Hmm.
this, we all have the bias of people pleasing. Well, or we do at some point in our lives.
Hmm.
And I'm like, this is a great opportunity for me to deny the control center to that part because it'll put me in a place where I have less money and less autonomy and less of what is in actual alignment with what I'm trying to do and trying to create.
Oh my God, this just reminded me of your chart, and I had a vision back in your chart. You remember how I was telling you, like the heart, Eric, the heart.
Yeah,
Once
yeah.
you come down, you come down. And the other one is probably your Aries rising. Very logical.
Oh,
Only and only logical. It's the ram and it goes through the walls because it doesn't matter the pain. It will go to where it sees it thinks it will. But the your rising is actually how you show up to the world and how people perceive you. So unless you operate out of your heart, people will probably assume you're Aries and not
yeah, which is
Pisces.
yeah, which is hilarious because people that know me well are like, "Oh, I didn't think you would have Aries," when they know me well. And for, I'm quieter, I'm more introspective, I wait, but um I always had a hard time because I people would see me as like, "Oh, he resting bitch face, don't mess with him, he's tough." Like on the track team at spring break, everyone else got picked up and thrown in the ocean on the entire track team, but not Eric. We're not going to touch Eric. And I wasn't the biggest guy. It wasn't about that. I'm like, okay. Um,
So I'm
yeah.
curious, can I ask you a question?
Mhm.
So this part of you that wants to make someone uncomfortable, let's just call it Aries rising. That's very, I don't know, is it? I'm just assuming. So so when you do this, do you, I think it's like, you know how debate is gone from our conversations, not ours, human conversations. Nobody actually debates anymore on a healthy level. It's just a fight and argument immediately or extreme side of like oppositions. And there's no more healthy debates. Like I consider this very healthy debate without trying to change each other's points of views. We're almost like listening. We both have points of views that are valid. We accept each other and we let it flow. So this kind of opens up and fires our brains very creatively and differently. So this part of you that comes up and questions and makes another uncomfortable because you can see through bullshit and through you almost have this psychic ability to feel someone else's. Why do you think it shows up and can you control it? Can you catch it? Is it helping you? Is it beneficial for you?
Um, I need help with framing. So tell me in more detail what you're seeing, because I think you might be seeing something that I don't see, and I
So
want to
you
meet
said
you
she
there.
was uncomfortable, right?
Yes.
Did you make her comfortable?
Well, yes.
Did you not because you didn't trust what she was saying?
Mm, let me let me quickly like recap the end of where things got quote unquote uncomfortable. It's like she says, So it sounds like your problem you're having is X and Y. And I say, yeah, that sounds about right. And she goes, so naturally, I can help you with those things.
Mm, mm. So, of course, I don't need the help. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I'm just quiet. I'm quiet because I'm like, okay, you're waiting, you're trying to make it uncomfortable where I'll say yes or be like, you got me saying yes. You want me to say another yes.
Mm,
I don't actually think that you can help me. I don't know. You haven't given me enough data or so instead I say, um, well, I think I need more information. And then she has to like pivot the I think part of it's like she's new to it. I think if you're a really experienced salesperson, you would just take that in flow and just continue on.
mm,
So it wasn't intentional for me to make her uncomfortable. It was just intentional for me to be true to myself in that moment and not let this really strong feeling that's like behind me of like, say yes, like say yes. She's not gonna, she's not gonna like you if you don't continue, you don't like play the game. And what I would do in the past is I would play the game and salespeople would get so mad because I would play the game all the way through and at the end be like, this isn't for me, sorry. And just like
mm.
cold switch and they just didn't understand. It's because I didn't know how else to be truthful. And I felt like being truthful would give them, if they're good at sales, it would give them the next point of leverage to kind of, bring that to the forefront. So
Okay,
it's like
so
a hyper protective, hyper defensive state of being that I would get into.
what you're trying, what I'm hearing is like there's a whole nother process happening within you that you're trying to control. Almost like it sounds like,
Mhm.
okay, I know what I usually do and I'm not gonna do it. So I'm gonna stop it. I'm gonna do complete opposite. No, I'm gonna freeze. For anything, I'm not gonna say anything.
Yeah.
But what's underneath it is what I'm curious about. Is it the fact that just gonna name a couple things and you
Yeah, yeah.
see what you feel in your body that she maybe knows better than you, aka you are not that smart, she is, that you don't need help as she is not the one to help you, that you are smarter than her,
Mm.
that you're less. So
Um,
less behind, and that she didn't see you, heard you, and maybe even that you feel taken advantage of. And I'm talking
y-
very heavy feelings.
yeah, I didn't feel seen would be the primary emotion.
Yeah. As if you're not really here to know me, you're here to take advantage of me. Underneath the feeling, this is what happens in the sales as well. But the good
Yeah.
news is you're so aware of it, right? So your initial reaction is freeze because you're about to get it's a threatening experience.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I can compare it. And you know what came up to me is like, you know how older people get often victim, they become very victim to
Mhm.
very good sales and lawyers and stuff like that, right? So it's almost like because they're not attuned to and aware of the reaction and the pattern and the it's sad to see it, right? Because
Mhm.
they get so taken advantage of by younger people who are so manipulative in that area. My mom got victimed so many times by being
Mm.
sold certain things that she didn't never need, right? So it's almost like
Right.
you almost trust this stranger because she has a really nice voice and she cares about you. No,
And they're
the
saying the
problem
right
is
things.
yeah, the more question is like, why do you need so much care by someone? It's like, what is missing beneath it, right? That you
Mhm.
trusted someone so much because you're not really getting what you're looking for. You're not getting taken care of. You suddenly have a stranger coming in and saying all these beautiful things that you feel so safe with. Like, what? No. So it was because you didn't feel you were seen or heard by her that
Yeah.
almost like blocked everything that came out of her mouth to you.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the cell was lost.
Yeah, and it was almost um there was like three layers happening. There was what can I learn if I'm trying to sell, and then also let me pretend like I'm her sales coach and then download feedback. So it's almost like I was like using these roles to help nurture the experience because initially I told her up front before we got on the call, I was like, hey, I'm not really looking to buy anything from anyone. I'm trying to connect and have some sort of rapport and just build connections with people and be friendly. And I said, but I would like, if that's okay with you, you knowing that, I would still go through a call with you if you want. And she said, yeah, absolutely. And instead of like starting on friendly terms and then seeing where things went, it was like a friendly opening and then clearly she jumped right into a pitch or like the start of like the flow. And I was like, okay. And so I was kind of like trying to still get something out of it. It was just a complicated situation, but yeah, the awareness is interesting. People getting manipulated is when you learn these skills, it's I think unfortunately it's way easier than what most people think it is, like how to do this. Like you just read from a script and you'll have someone believing you. Um,
Ugh,
yeah,
but it's all here. It
it's sad.
becomes,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's not connected. And the way to
Remi-
connect, I think, is like throw if you're feeling like you're not sure about someone's intent, is throw in a curveball answer to something and just see if like you throw in something that should change the way they talk to you from that point on. And if they continue
mm,
talking to you the same way, then you know, there's no exchange happening. They're a
mm.
wolf and you're the sheep.
And that's one way. And I'll just give another one. Just take time for yourself. Take
Right.
time to feel it through. The moment you become out of that field, you're actually going to feel yourself much more. And once, because you get affected by it, right? So you almost like it sounds so good that it turns, and often the sales work because of either pain body for women,
Yep.
and then they try to sell you the desire, or the opposite for men. It's like, this is your desire, and I'll try to sell you, right? So almost like it has a psychological, but take time to
Hmm.
feel, and I'll be back to you in 7 days. And if in 7 days there's still a good feeling about it, then, do something about it, or even like make mistake for it, and you'll learn. You
Hmm.
see, all or nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I tried to teach my mom that so many times. Oh gosh, how many times this woman fell for the same exact money manipulation. It's insane.
Mm.
And there's nothing I can do other than, and even showing her how I do it.
Yeah.
And I think what helped her is practice. So we would go and we would, like, I don't know, buy a tile for kitchen.
Yeah.
First tile she sees, no matter the money, no matter everything. I love it. I love it. I need it right now. It's on sale. And I'm like, how about we go to 5 different stores? Let's just take, and that takes like almost like you have to embody and
Yeah. You
experience
train it.
this.
Hmm.
And if you have Taurus for a mom,
Hmm.
that does not work. So stubborn, but like, there's just, I think, practice,
Hmm.
practice.
Hmm. Yeah.
Oh,
I think you were almost pointing to something too, which was interesting, which you said, what is the underlying thing happening in your body? And it almost kind of points to emotional needs. So I have a deep need to be seen and validated. And if I'm in a situation where I'm not being seen and validated, I will do whatever to then be seen and validated. So
mm,
I'll sell myself away and change who I am to fit what works for you. And at the end when you ask me to buy, I will then just ghost you because I'm like I got what I needed.
wow. So okay, great. And because that need, emotional need, you know, how do you fulfill this? Like, do you always know how to fulfill this exact need, how to get what you're needing?
No, no.
Okay.
situationally, it's always different. I know there's tools that can help with it, but yeah.
Okay. And is the need coming from your mind's narrative? We're getting deep now.
Mm, I don't know. I usually have to find it somewhere in my body first.
Mm.
Like I'm at, like it's a very unconscious. Like this is if this is like our deep wounds, this is probably my deepest wound, is like some level of validation. Then it's almost like I find myself in activities of numbing, distracting, etc. And then I question or do like a check-in and I'm like, what's going on? And then become aware and then the mind steps in to create stories or make decisions.
But there's like a domino effect process. There's like one,
Hmm.
two, three, four, five, six, 7 steps to, you know, these like moments, right? This
Hmm.
like, oh, I thought we're friends, and suddenly you really actually didn't hear what I said. And suddenly I feel invalidated, less, not seen. Wait, so what's my purpose here? Like, am I really worthy? Right. So it goes deep, really deep, deep, one after another, one after another. And here
Hmm.
I highlighted one thing. This is where, I mean, awareness can come in many formats, right? And intellectually, we have to learn about it in order to, for it to click eventually, in order for whatever scene in life that happens and the blend that it's perfect for the mind to actually become aware of what you just read 5 years ago or heard somewhere 5 years ago. And it says when we operate, so the more refined the frequencies catalyzes new microprocesses inside your body. For one thing, your immune system becomes stronger and your general level of health improves considerably. So when you have this way of attack, almost like the mind is in a split second is going to come up with the all to do's, what you have to do on a nervous system level or everything else. It shoots down the information to close and to react to whatever that is threatening you, whatever that you don't like, whatever that it's closing you off completely. And it's such an involuntary thing to do. We almost don't even know. You see, it took you days later to almost come to awareness. Oh, but there was something much underneath it. It really wasn't her fault. It was just a circumstance, and it was something that triggered that reaction for you to question, make her feel uncomfortable, and later on, whatever that you're doing usually.
Hmm.
But now you're aware of it. Now you have this like differentiation between, oh, my mind is shooting up the stories that I'm automatically reacting to. So, when in shadow, which is the ego, what we talked about, which is the mind, which is this manipulation, it's going to do everything in its power to re manipulate so it wins over and over, though it knows it loses anyway. When in shadow, sickness. When in mind, running the show, the body will often get sick. When the
Hmm.
mind says you're old and you're dying, your body cells will follow, right? When your mind says, I'm sick, I'm depressed, your body will follow. When in gift, heart. When the mind doesn't run the show, rather you push the information from, oh, but I can hear you, what you're saying. And I am still good if you didn't listen, hear me out. Zoom out. Oh, you just don't know. You're just not there yet to see me as a human being with the heart. Maybe it's the bad day. Who knows what the story is behind your eyes? But I
Hmm.
know what I know about myself. And I know why I'm here. And I accept me. And this is just an experience. When from the heart, the health of the body, the health of the mind. And I wrote it down. And it's funny that you say that now you have the cold sore, something within it speaks out. Maybe, I'm not saying it's the case, but maybe because unconsciously, some part of you was in the shadow. I don't know. You tell me, is it true? I have not been sick for years since I came to the United States. And I'm not saying I'm operating from the heart all the time, but I'm saying I want to operate from my heart. And I want to
Hmm.
learn the skill of speaking the truth from my heart. and doing anything that I do with the full heart on. I want to have enough energy to go in 5 different trainings all day, to run 3 different companies, but from the heart. I don't want to do it to
Yeah.
destroy your life. Don't sign up for my coaching if it doesn't feel right. I want the truth from my heart. And the
Hmm.
more of that I do, the more energy somehow I end up having. And I will do anything in my power to discover this part of me that speaks. And, today I only ate once. I have so much energy I can run a marathon right now. Where is this energy coming from?
Hmm.
So shadows are like, how do we know? Remember Richard in one of the Jinkies says, like, you can't do shadow and the gift at the same time. It's one or the other.
Yeah. Was there a question after
No, just
that?
long-winded. Ah,
Um, yeah, I have like all these potential stories for why I have a cold sore. And there's a couple that make sense to me. Number one, I made a huge positive change, and positive change is still a stress.
mm,
It's still like, it's like excitement, it's like newness, it's ample time to rest, and it's like, oh, whole world is new now. Like this is wonderful. Getting high from like great feedback, from the experience of writing and having flow state, like all this is new and wonderful. So there's that piece, but I think more so this this is like probably the more subtle truth is I injured my foot. Carly withdrew emotionally, and then I made myself push through whatever pain I had to do. And in that way, kind of, I had to put it somewhere, right? And then once my foot was normal, Carly and I reconciled. Um, we had some space to establish routine and normalcy, and we reestablished the emotional connection. Then I get this wicked cold sore. And
mhm,
also, cold sores are contagious. Um, but there's the element of like if your nervous system, if your body is working well and you're in complete order, you could be around someone with it and not receive it, or it wouldn't be as strong. And this is like a very strong manifestation of cold sore. This is probably the worst one I've ever had.
mm,
Besides maybe the first time I got it. And I think it's probably just that combination of like a severe injury seemed like a huge change, having to deal with this big emotional shift and not doing it properly, not doing it in a way that I could let the energy flow instead of um again trying to find a way to get accepted by Carly as like my single most important goal in that situation. It wasn't like let me feel this injury and rest and recover.
mm.
It was let me do whatever it takes to get Carly to see me again.
No.
Sad.
Oh. No, I love it. And can I just note something that I'm noticing is that the way you speak about it is not destructive to you, right? So almost like your mind is in this case supporting you to create a narrative that is supportive, right? Rather than, oh, you did this, you did this, you did this. Of course, she's not going to like you. Of course, it can go so down on you.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
every word that you said in the last, your iteration, it's almost like, wow, you actually are having the healthy thoughts. You're not going down on yourself. You're just allowing everything to happen. You have like it's supportive. Your mind, it's supportive over you for this exact thing,
Hmm.
which is mind blowing, right? So it's like almost like you lost everything. Like you have every single reason to get mad at yourself and go hard on yourself. But no, your mind, you see, but your mind vocabulary is very
Hmm.
different for this event, which is really cool. And honestly, I think when we get so hard on ourselves, like it's hard for people to see what we don't see in ourselves. When we crave the love the most, it's often because we miss to love ourselves the most. So
Hmm.
seeking someone to give you the intention. And that's where I had a similar situation in it. It's like, how do you ask of someone something so important? See me, feel me, hold me, love me. if in that right moment you know logically that this is exactly what you need to feel for yourself, and yet you don't know how.
Yeah. It reminds me of there's like a meme of one side of a couple that has a fantasy, and then he's trying to tell his wife about the sexual fantasy he has,
Mm,
and then he's using code to tell her, and she's like, "So you want me to do this to you?" And he's like, "No, no, no. I want you to pretend like you don't know me, and then you do that to me." And she's like, "So I'm gonna not know." And he's like, "You're not getting it. Like, it's like this, the game we play. Like, go get lost and then find me, this game." But I think you hit it nail on the head, which last night I was putting the kids to bed and I was like holding Luca. I got him a cozy blanket. I was just looking at his sweet face and just feeling his soul. And I was just like, oh my God, this kid's incredible. And so I spoke to him for 2 minutes, just like the most affirming, positive, loving language I could think of that was coming from my heart.
mm,
And that gave me such a place of fulfillment. I had so much energy after that. I thought I was exhausted.
mm.
I was up for another 2 hours. And it's like you said, like the thing that you need is actually the paradoxical way to get it is to give it. And it's like, and the giving of it is so much richer because it's almost like when you have that gap and you have that need and that awareness is so large and vast that when you give it and it comes from your heart, like he was half asleep, I don't know if it resonated or not, but it's still just saying it out loud and directing it toward a true message of my heart. It was like it was a healing for me and just
Mm.
speaking the words. And there was some element of like, yeah, I'm sure my dad did this at some point. I'm sure he saw
Ah,
me in the way that I see him. And then it was like this
wow.
psychedelic love trip.
Hmm. Yeah, multiplication of it.
Hmm.
It's like it multiplies. It's magnetic. It's like a compound. It's like it just evolves and grows real fast. It's like spreads. Same way like the virus spreads. It's just a good virus. The
Yeah.
love virus. Isn't it so interesting that everything that we do actually stems from love? You either need it to receive it or you need it to give it. It's like
Hmm.
there's almost like fear is really just on the top. The the root of fear is love is missing,
Yeah.
right? So it's like love is where everything starts from. And tell me one person who says no to love, but you really can't say no to love because love, that level of loving your child who is sleeping without asking anything in return is the thy will, right? So that's where that new, such a deep emotions that are untapped yet, such as altruism, such as faith, like in the goodness of everyone, such as the desire to live fully your life with everything that comes in, starts getting birthed, right? So it's like that level of loving and not asking anything in return has an only one way to start, which is from you outward. And you're not asking anything in return. You're almost like you're feeding by just giving it. And
Hmm.
there's no feedback, right? So there's no attachment to it. It's complete detachment. It's complete. Hmm, I hope we evolve to that point where a lot of imagine life when you don't experience such love. Or imagine life when you live all your life seeking to receive the love that you simply do not know how to give. You don't have awareness, but yet you need it. Give me, give me, give me, give me. So it's endless pit of constant need and attachment. I need it because like I don't know how I'm going to survive without it, but yet you don't feel it. It never comes to you. it's like almost like lives outside of you, yet you don't really get to feel what that feels like. And the only way to feel it is to give it.
Mhm.
Super, super. How do we end up in the love labyrinth?
Um, where did we
We're t-
start?
I mean, this was such a good, we didn't even touch the CD. I admittedly didn't really finish reading it all the way through.
That's
Did you like
hilarious
this?
because I didn't either. That there's like a paragraph or
Seriously?
two. Yeah,
Okay, let's
that's quickly. Okay. Invisibility. It can mean different things. So he talks about cinnabar, which this kind of lost me because I'm not sure what it is, but for the Taoists, cinnabar was a substance that represented the mercurial aspect in alchemy. The qualities of mercury or quicksilver are the qualities of the 26th city. In this respect, mercury represents the ability to become one with your environment, to camouflage yourself so as to appear invisible. This is the difference between the embodiment of my will and thy will, which was mentioned earlier. This 26th city dissolves all sense of individual will. Everything in the cosmos is driven by a single turbine, and surrender to this impulse renders the individual ego invisible, not just your own, but everyone else's as well. The whole game just falls away. This is what you're talking about just now.
and we didn't even read it.
It's like and that's the paradox of the question of like imagine if everyone was operating from this place of I'm going to give the thing I need the most. We would it would just like would life exist? Not as we know it, right? It would be so different.
Maybe it will just even dissolve our,
Yeah, and it's
I
like
don't know.
invisibility. It's not there.
You think we will no longer exist?
Um,
Hmm.
I think, yeah. I like what Richard's laid out for like for the vision of what it means to be physically manifested. But then I have to let go because I'm like aware that this life is going to end and I won't be able to see it from this perspective.
Mm. So why waste it? Take advantage of it
Yeah,
fully from
spend
the
more
heart.
spend more time in the giving. And I was thinking about
Mm.
when you're having this sales conversation with this woman and you're just almost like you're a catalyst or a bridge to you're noticing what she needs and you're willing to provide everything that you know or every tool that you've used or seen or even like the subtle like the more subtle layers that won't lead you to landing her as a client but will help her,
Mm.
and connect her and help her heal whatever that's needed. It's like you become invisible in the sense that she knows she's talking with you and but at the same time it's like you're not bringing your story to it. You're not bringing your needs to it. You're just there as kind of like a vessel to give her something beyond what she ever thought she needed.
And to add to that, it is, it almost feels like sacrilege if I push the sale, right? It almost feels absolutely not right in my body. It feels like I'm doing something wrong.
Hmm.
And even if I sold and I believed in the tools that I learned, right? I think my delivery for that push and that sale will be completely off
Yeah.
and it will be wrong, right? So this is where I trust. It's like I think I have the ability to trust because I'm very Piscean, right? So, and I think I
Mhm.
have the ability to surrender and accept universe because we levitate above the earth, right? So I'm almost like not even grounded on the earth when you look at my chart. So it's like it's hard for me to force you to do something.
Hmm.
I simply don't know how to do it. It will come out super wrong. I will immediately disconnect with you. But what I really am learning, and I think I just became aware of this recently, is like how to attune to yourself, to you. Meaning there's no, I'm not talking about the compassion, the kindness, the cordiality of it, or I'm not talking about being empathetic, like feeling what you're feeling or taking, no, exactly what you mentioned earlier. I'm actually really curious to hear what you have to say. And I want to know, but I'm also selective because I am not going out there trying to find everyone's story because I need to sell. I am trusting that you and I will cross paths. And when our conversation and field is open for us to blend the energies, heart will speak. And you can't help it but not to speak the heart. Our 20th Jinki is when we did the guest. Okay.
Hmm.
The guest. And with the guest, it was just the ego talk. And it was so uncomfortable to me, meaning, let me elaborate on that as well. So like, when you engage with, I am very uncomfortable to engage on an egoistic, self-centered way. I almost know how to do it so good that I am so aggressive. I will win no matter what. This is me at work all the time. And I have a friend who I engage with on an egoistic level, but that falls off, right? So
Hmm.
it's almost like I have to sleep in order to reset from that energy,
Yeah.
take a nap or take a shower and totally reset because I know what it does to my body. It totally makes a havoc in my body. It destroys me almost like I feel I can't, like everything is dysregulated in my body. So with the sale, I almost do not want to even do the sale. The pitch, I just want to talk to people and it has to be right for both. And
Hmm.
that's where crossing paths with the right people, because we can't help everybody. I don't want to sell my
Yeah.
product or
Yeah.
my whatever that's not even the service. I just happen to have more time to read it and experience it. But I want to know about you. I genuinely want to know about you, your soul, and where are you on your journey? Because I see it as, wow, first I need to be asked that, and I'm not,
Hmm.
and that's where we first teach in
Yeah.
order to receive.
Hmm.
Heart. I love you. Thank you. This was so good.
Yeah. This was good.
This was really good.
I stood up for this one. I was a little bit more
Yeah.
playful, shifty.
Ooh, how do you feel?
Um, Embarrassingly, I feel like I want to sit down. Like I'm tired.
Opa. Opa.
My
Okay.
just in my feet. But I have been like with the cold sore, I've been like I was carrying Koa at the store the other day and I'm like, buddy, I gotta find a cart. Like you're so heavy. And
Your body.
that's not normal.
You need to rest. All right, buddy. I'll let you go. It's exactly 2 hours. Wow.
Wow, that
Oh.
flew by.
All right.
All right.
We'll talk next one.
Okay.
Ciao.